Hey, welcome to Alum House Sound. My name is Dave, and today we're going to talk about the portion of my life that is the tech director at my church. Now, a lot of times we're talking about soundboards. We've got a couple consoles back here. We're doing studio work. We're doing mixing, recording, editing, and all around, typically like broadcast work. Anyway, today what we want to talk about is my role as the tech director at my church. Now, it's a part-time role. We are a setup, teardown church, and part-time meaning about 10 hours a week is allocated. We don't have our space available on any given week. I can come in at odd hours of the day because we meet in a historic movie theater. It was built in 1928. It's a fascinating building, but I've got a lot of other videos that kind of talk about different things that we've been able to do over the years. Now, I've been in this role for, I think, 8 years now. And the great part is that I get to train a team and work with a team, and our team is about 35 people at the church that volunteer as tech people. We've got some folks that are also musicians that kind of cross over into the tech world. And so it's a fun team of volunteers. We serve once a month. That's kind of our culture. And so we tend to have a team that kind of rotates every week. With that in mind, my pastor a couple of years ago said, I want to have a teleprompter set up. He'd gone to a church that a friend of his is the pastor at, and they had 2 teleprompters in the back, one on either side of the facility, and he loved it. He felt like he could get more words in, which is, let's be honest, that's always a pastor's goal, right? They like to talk. But he felt like he could get a more compelling message written and delivered with more words in a much more concise way, but I say concise. Anyway, a lot more words, but in a more impactful way. And he felt comfortable. He wanted a teleprompter. And I told him, I said, whoa. We've got enough tech challenges on any given week right now between training our volunteers, cables that break because we set up and tear down every week, upgrading cameras, or going to broadcast back in the COVID era. Whatever the case was, we always seemed like we were battling something on any given week. So I said, if you want a teleprompter, I need you to come up with the team, and I need you to come up with the process, and we'll test it. So beginning of this year, finally, we tested it with an iPad. He's got a little mic, kind of like a DJI mic that he wears, and that controls his iPad, which is on stage, just on a little iPad stand. He has his Bible underneath that, and he can pick up his Bible and work with it. We still have our courtesy monitor that connects to ProPresenter, but I didn't want to have to integrate or change things from ProPresenter because there's other stuff that he liked about that. So this would be an overall different engagement. Now, what we ended up with testing was in our facility that we do own, which is a building about half a block away. I set up a 41-inch TV with an Apple TV. And I said, let's test this technology because I went through a couple iterations. I could have the iPad on stage throwing wirelessly to an Apple TV, which is what we're doing right now. I could also have the iPad out at the tech booth, which sits in the middle of the venue, and that iPad could be have a dongle connecting to the TV, and then I could take a feed off of my soundboard, a microphone output, and direct that right into the iPad. So when he talks, it's constantly scrolling. It's following his voice. Currently, it's using the little mic that he has on him, but it could use just his over ear right from the soundboard direct in to the iPad, and it could scroll that way. The downside with that is if it gets laggy, if there's some hang up in it, then he has no way to control it. So he likes having control from the iPad. He manages it himself. But what we did is we brought in an extra TV, 41-inch TV, and we stuck it in the seats. The stand was really big and long, and so we had to it took 2 people to kind of lift it and kind of angle it in and get it set up. It was not the most sturdy stand. It was kind of an old extra stand. So I tasked myself with, once we did it 2-3 weeks in a row and it worked successfully, I knew it was here to stay. I needed to build a base So I started calculating. I needed a base that had casters so we could roll this thing, but I needed the base to be heavy enough that it wouldn't possibly tilt. In this tiered seating that we live in, having this thing on an angle, and then the TV hanging off of it, we got to do a little math, a little science, got to make this thing safe. And so what I ended up with was a bunch of metal. So I went to my local metal supermarkets, which may seem weird to a lot of you, but I also do welding and metal work, and I work on cars all the time, so I'm welding things. So I went to metal supermarkets, I picked up some aggressively thick metal that met the parameters that I needed to be able to build a base that could roll in between these movie theater seats, but also be strong enough and heavy enough that it could hold the weight and support the weight of the stand and the TV hanging from above it at an angle, because again, tiered seating, and then the TV obviously angles this way so he can see it from the raised stage. So all these things going in mind, I needed to keep it below our camera and our projector that we set up. And so here is what I did. All right, quick update on the teleprompter project. We got all three pieces welded together. That thing has some pretty good penetration on it. You can see by the side weld here and over here. So I'm feeling comfortable with that. This thing weighs 100 pounds. It is thick steel. So the next thing to do is, if we look back here, I have the TV stand, which looks a little, off kilter because it's missing a wheel. And anyway, I've got to take the casters off of that. I'm going to end up getting it situated on the other side of this thing. And then I've got to, I'm going to tack it on, and then I'm going to cut off the pieces that overhang and try to make some smooth edges. I did come in and round these edges down here. So those are nice and smooth and rounded all the way around, so that if you're pushing this thing and you catch your foot on it, well, you don't get cut up with it. Anyway, we're going to try and keep going, get this thing in production this weekend. Then I took the actual stand that we were using, and I cut some of the pieces off. I set it so that it was back closest to the back part of this rolling stand after I welded the wheels on. And now that it's at the back part of the stand, that has the TV hanging over about the first third of this base. And so from a science perspective and a weight distribution perspective, it works out really good. The TV is really not that heavy. It's not an old TV, it's a pretty modern TV. So it's not that heavy. And the height, again, has it set up so that it's pretty good. And the base, the weight of the base, if you look at the thickness of this metal, that base weighs 100 pounds. So this thing comes in at pretty heavy, really, really nice. And you can see from a shot here, I was running sound a couple weeks ago and was able to catch a short little video. And you can see it here in action, sitting below my camera, below my projector, but right in the visibility. And what I like about this, what he likes about it, is from the iPad, his eyes were kind of down. He kept glancing down to follow this teleprompter. Now with the TV screen, his eyes are towards the camera as well as the congregation. And so it keeps him looking out. Again, we're throwing from an Apple TV, which connects wirelessly to our internal network, which has no internet on it. The only thing that's on this network connection is our X32, and that's just so that people on stage can connect their phones or tablets to it to control their monitors, their mix buses, and whoever the sound tech is, or if I'm there mixing wirelessly for broadcast on a Sunday morning, I'm the only other person that's connected to that router. So we tried it with a different router that does have internet that sits backstage, but he had some lags every now and again. So he's had some good success working with this. We keep the 5 gigahertz range for him to connect wirelessly, and then everybody else on stage runs on the 2.4 gigahertz network of this router. And it seems to be good. The router is nothing fancy. It's an old Netgear router, and so pretty basic, but again, it's only running to the X32, and now this Apple TV connects wirelessly. So he doesn't have to have internet. It's just an internal network. He connects to it and it works for him. Now, maybe your pastor's looking for teleprompter action. They want to be able to have a script that they're kind of reading off of. They spend the hard time to build this and refine this sermon. And I know everybody has different thoughts about it, but if your pastor's looking for it, maybe just maybe, this is a solution for you. Again, because we set up and tear down, this thing's got to be rolled in and out of the seats every week. And it had to be sturdy enough to not fall, and it's got casters on it. And we painted it production black because, well, the stand was black already, but I wanted to make sure that we live in a pretty humid climate, and I didn't want this thing to catch any rust on it, surface rust or anything like that. Anyway, just a quick little video about something I've been working on. I've got some other reviews coming out and some more educational videos, so stick around for those. If you have questions or comments, I'd love to hear about those in the comment section below. If you need some one-on-one help with your mixing endeavors and you want help outside of YouTube, you can find my contact card on my website. That's linked in the description. You can fill that out and we can start a conversation outside of YouTube. But that's it for this video. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.